Hey everybody, Danny here with Danny Murphy & Associates at First Team Real Estate doing our weekly video. So a lot changed in our business about a week ago. New rules and laws went into place across the entire country related to how we transact and do real estate transactions, both as a seller and a buyer, and then of course as agents. So a couple of things that we wanted to make sure all of you, the consumer, is aware of is that buyers can no longer tour a house with an agent without having some form of a buyer-broker agreement, okay? And so we wanted to kind of go on record and talk about the two options that you have as a buyer. You can, of course, go into open houses, and you don't have to sign any paperwork. You don't have to sign a buyer-broker agreement if you just want to go check out a house during open house. But at any time outside of an open house, if you as a buyer want to go look at a property, whether it's with the listing agent or with a buyer's agent, you have to have one of two what we call buyer-broker agreements, okay? The first one is basically going to be just you signing a document saying that you're looking at this one property with a buyer's agent, okay? Or with the agent. It could be the listing agent, like I said, or a buyer's agent. It's a 3-page document. In that document, it's gonna say what property you're looking at. It might be allows for up to 3 properties. So you can use this for 3 properties. And the duration can't go more than 30 days. But in that, we also have to put in compensation. So legally now, as a buyer representation, as a buyer's agent, we have to have this form signed if we're going to show you a property, or a different form that I'll talk about in a minute. And in that, you have to say how long it's good for. In this case, maximum 30 days, 3 properties, and we have to put our compensation in there, okay? And so I'm just telling you now, we won't fill one of these out for less than 3%. That means that if a listing agent and the seller is offering 2.5%, we can get paid 2.5%, right? But if we don't put 3% in here and the seller is offering 3% to the buyer's agent, we can't collect that full 3% because we didn't put 3% in this agreement. So this agreement will always be at least 3% if you're working with our team, and most buyer's agents and listing agents will do the same thing, because that then allows us to have the opportunity to get full compensation if the seller is paying that. The other option for you as a buyer is you can do what's called a buyer-broker agreement, and it's a 5-page document. Basically, this document is where you're effectively hiring that agent for a duration of time. It could be up to 12 months, for example, or 3 months, and then you can continue to renew it. So this document is where you say, hey, no matter what property I go look at as a consumer, Danny Murphy & Associates is our buyer's agent. They're our team. That's who we're working with, and we are hiring them on a sort of ongoing basis to show us any properties. But again, in here, we still have to put in a duration. We have to put in a commission amount that we work for. And there's a lot of misnomers out there. Commissions to buyer's agents can be paid by the seller completely. They can be paid by the buyer completely if the seller is not cooperating and paying anything. I don't think that's going to happen a lot. I think most sellers recognize that the way it was handled, where the seller dictates what a buyer's agent gets paid, is a good way to do the business. But again, that's all open for discussion and for negotiation, or it can be a combination of both the buyer and the seller paying the buyer's agent. So, this is just where we're at now. It's kind of the new world that we have in the agency community. We have to get one of these 2 documents signed, else we can be fined $2,500 for each incident. And at some point we can lose our license. So when an agent is asking you if you've signed anything, if you've submitted any offers, if you signed a buyer-broker agreement with any other agent, it's not because we're trying to be intrusive or we're trying to sell you something. It's because we have to ask those questions, because we have to have you sign a document with us, this buyer-broker, if we're going to show you a property. It's the law for us. And it's also to protect you as a consumer, so that you know what kind of representation you have, you know how much it costs. But there's a lot of ways we can negotiate commission with the seller, and that's for a topic for a different day. But just wanted to kind of go on record and talk about how we now work with buyers as buyer's agents. So reach out to us anytime with all your real estate questions and needs. Thank you.